In this op-ed, writer Mequita Rivas discusses how America has co-opted her Mexican culture but dehumanized the people. Over the past few weeks, more and more news has emerged about migrant children being ripped from their parents and placed in detention centers as a result of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy. It took President Donald Trump 76 days to put a stop to the separations that were his own administration's doing. But that was little comfort for many Americans, especially given that there are no demonstrable provisions for reuniting separated children with their families. For a majority of the Latinx community, especially those of us who are immigrants or children of immigrants, it's been downright devastating. But intermixed with the sadness and helplessness is a lot of anger. I'm angry that babies don't know where their parents are, and that parents have to threaten legal recourse in order to possibly get answers about their child's whereabouts. I'm angry that many won't be reunited for months, if not years, and that some may never be reunited at all. I'm angry that this humanitarian crisis is completely manufactured by the government. I'm angry that we keep getting fed straight-up lies about what's really happening to these children and families. The United States seems to be working overtime to keep immigrants out. The zero-tolerance policy and the recent Supreme Court ruling that legitimizes Trump's Muslim ban illustrate just how far this administration will go to silo the U.S. from the rest of the world. What's less clear to me, however, is why proponents of such policies will complain about immigrants while partaking in and even co-opting from their cultures. Take, for example, Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen, who was confronted by a group of protesters while eating dinner at a Mexican restaurant in Washington, D.C. Just 2 days earlier, she had proclaimed on Twitter, "We do not have a policy of separating families at the border. Period. https://twitter.com/secnielsen/status/10084674142359992069 The irony, of course, I wasn't lost on millions of Americans. Secretary Nielsen, how dare you spend your evening here eating dinner as you are complicit in the separation and deportation of over 10,000 children separated from their parents, one of the protesters says in the video of the confrontation. How can you enjoy a Mexican dinner as you are deporting and imprisoning tens of thousands of people seeking asylum here in the United States? She was ultimately driven out of the restaurant, and honestly, good riddance. But she wasn't the first person to so brazenly take from a culture that she's actively working to undermine. And she won't be the last. When it comes to Latinx culture, and Mexican culture specifically, food is perhaps the most visible element that tends to get co-opted by non-Latinx people. But it doesn't stop there. Think about Halloween and the non-Latinx people who wear a calavera, commonly referred to as a sugar skull. Although calaveras are used to decorate ofrendas on Dia de Muertos in honor of loved ones who have passed, they've become an increasingly popular trend stateside, with many beauty bloggers even putting together sugar skull makeup tutorials that strip the design of its cultural relevance. The fashion world, in particular, is notorious for borrowing from Mexican culture. From the colorful, floral embroidery of the huples, garments worn by indigenous women in Mexico and Central America that can range from a blouse to a floor-length piece, to the off-the-shoulder fit of traditional dresses from Tabasco and Veracruz. If you've shopped at any major retailer in the past few years, you've likely seen Mexico's influence on the racks, in mannequins, or hawked under the brand name Mexitrend. Yes, this really happened. Just as prevalent are motifs ripped directly from the deeply personal rituals and traditions of Chola and Cholo culture, which fashion shows frequently appropriate, or use as inspiration. Although the terms Chola and Cholo typically refer to people of mixed indigenous and Mexican heritage, everyone from Kendall and Kylie Jenner to Nicki Minaj have repackaged the Chola look, which usually includes oversized flannel shirts buttoned to the top, khakis, huge hoop earrings, pencil-thin eyebrows, and darkly lined lips. But even though the country directly south of the U.S. border has long been Trump's favorite scapegoat, there are more countries in Latinx America than Mexico alone, and it's vital to acknowledge that the migration crisis encompasses more than one country. Would-be refugees seeking asylum at the border are fleeing violence in Honduras, El Salvador, Venezuela, and many other places that have been ravaged beyond belief. These migrants have their own cultures and languages. Advocacy groups, for example, are currently looking for volunteers who speak indigenous languages since not everyone speaks Spanish. The journey to the U.S. is treacherous and life-threatening. Turning away migrants on the border is often akin to signing someone's death warrant. That's why the Trump administration has worked non-stop to erase the humanity of immigrants, writing them off as gang members, job stealers, and animals. And eliminating someone's humanity is one way to justify bigotry and indifference. Reducing someone's culture to a basket of guacamole and chips at a dinner special or a sombrero on Cinco de Mayo can feel cruel to the people directly affected. Perpetrators of cultural appropriation often assert that they're not being appropriative, but rather, appreciative. The problem with claiming cultural appreciation is that you simply can't appreciate a culture if you don't respect its people. There is no other way around that. And true appreciation is not something that happens at the surface level. It goes deep. It acknowledges, understands, and values what a culture has created, whether that be a dish, a dress, or anything else. It is aware that a culture is nothing without its people, for they are the ones breathing life into the customs and traditions that make that culture so rich and beautiful. For you, Secretary Nielsen, it was dinner. For us, it was a symbol and a reminder of how little you think of our peoples, not that we needed another one to begin with. Get the Teen Vogue take. Sign up for the Teen Vogue weekly email. Want more from Teen Vogue? Check this out: the long history of women's resistance at the United States-Mexico border.